NVR. It is your main man, Vapin Minuteman, just coming right here at you on the main Vape News Network. We are just bringing to you everything that we can, as much as we can, as fast as we can. But you know what? We're going to give it to you, and we're going to lay it out for you to play it out. So stick around right here after this commercial break. We'll get right into it. So good morning! And we are now live once again for Good Morning NVR. How you doing this morning, Anthony?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a chance to stay more plugged into the vapor stuff this week, so I'm kind of excited about that. Some interesting things going on. Not a lot to talk about today, but the things we do have to talk about are pretty compelling. So I'm kind of glad that we're going to get to do a show today. I've been kind of heavy into chat and doing some more podcast stuff this week, so it's been interesting. There's a lot going on. It seems like a lot of the vaping advocacy channels have slowed down just a little bit because they've really been putting the information out there.
Yeah.
Really heavy for quite a while, and they're kind of like, okay, let's step back from this. But the real concerning thing is we are less than 90 days away from the May 12th deadline, and I think that's where everybody is just kind of shaky. They just don't know what to expect.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is honestly a big thing that's going on. I'm trying to make sure that we're live on Facebook, but I'm not seeing us live. Yeah, I'm not seeing us on Facebook, which is weird. But,
Facebook is weird. So I guess first off, we need to ask you, we saw you all dressed up in your suit and your tie and, ran a comb through your hair and all of that. So how did that go? What was your experience?
Well, I thought it went very well until we got the news that we got this week. So we're hoping that, we can actually get to Senator Tecumbo.
Yeah, West Virginia went a little crazy this week. So
yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about that a little later. But the first thing that I do want to talk about, because, and I want your opinions on this too. That's one reason I wanted to do it on this show instead of just doing a video on it myself. A lot of people are going crazy over the whole issue with the coronavirus because, let's be honest, 90% of our liquids, where do they come from? Or not liquids. Really? 90% of our hardware, where do they come from?
90% of our liquids?
I meant hardware.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's a concern. It's a big concern. I think that people are, I've seen people in those kind of shops like wearing more rubber gloves and things like that just to try and kind of keep that to a minimum. But yeah, it's a concern. I mean, the only good news right now is I don't know if we're done with it yet or not, but the Chinese New Year, they don't send things out. They don't do anything during that period of time. So that has been one thing.
Well, yeah, it's a huge when concern. Was it that Chinese New Year started? Because there's a little key that I found today that gives us a glimmer of hope.
I say like late January or early February. Like
okay.
It's right in that area.
Because here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. I've done a lot of research, and there's actually debate as to how long outside of a human body on a piece of metal or a piece of fabric that the coronavirus could survive. in a human, or well, on a surface like metal for the human strand, for some of the other strands of the coronavirus, because the coronavirus is one strand of multiple strands.
Gotcha.
A lot of the other strands are about a 5 to 7 day period that they can live outside of a human body.
Gotcha.
But the issue with that is there is also an animal strand that can live 28 days outside of a human body. So because of that difference in strands, the one thing I tell people is, for right now, buy American when it comes to your liquids. Bottom line. For one, they're 10 times better liquids.
That's for sure.
And, you're going to not have the consumption portion of it. When it comes to the actual hardware, because like these drip tips and this RDA, which today I'm on the profile, and of course, you know which
Top
one.
side.
Yep.
That profile's a nice RDA. Personally, I think it's one of the better ones, especially if you're going to deal with mesh.
Yeah.
That I have seen, we sold a lot of those in the shop I used to work at, and yeah, people really enjoyed that particular RDA.
But
it's a little tough to wick, but other than that, no. The only good thing about the coronavirus is it's taken some focus off of vaping.
Yeah.
In the news, that's really the only positive thing I can give you.
What I recommend for all of your hardware, whether or not it's alive when it gets here, let's all be safe with your mods and things like that, especially if it's from overseas. Just get you some Clorox wipes, wipe them down. There's some out there that say that they are good to kill the coronavirus. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, because my worry would be like products that come in sealed packages. Does that seal allow it to live longer because it's not being exposed to like regular air?
And then the other...
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
The other thing I recommend when it comes to your toppers, like your tanks, your RDAs, the only thing you can't really do this with is your coils, is your pre-made coils. But with your tanks and anything that can be submerged in water, my recommendation is to either, one, if you have any type of nice little ultrasonic cleaner, throw a little bit of alcohol, like some vodka, cheap vodka, with water. Throw that in there and let that go. I recommend turning, if you have heat on your ultrasonic, you turn the heat up as high as you can take it.
Yeah, but wouldn't the biggest concern be like the cotton inside the coils? Like,
well, a lot of our cotton
coils?
Is made in America.
No. I'm talking about pre-made coils.
Those are right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
the coils are the ones that you really.
And that's where you're breathing right through those things. Like that's
when they're tanks, yes. But I'm also talking RDAs, which you build right in front of you.
Yeah, and that's great for the 10% of vapors that are consistent RDA users. But for the rest of us, it definitely is a concern.
Now,
Thank God I purchased coils months ago in a big supply, so I shouldn't have any issue.
But there is something you can do for those coils as well. You can boil those coils. Just have it at a light boil. Do the same thing. Throw some vodka in some water and boil them. A lot of people do that to extend the life of their their pre-made coils.
But Robert, you know as well as I do, the biggest issue we have in the vaping industry is what I call the lazy vapor.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't want to do anything more than stick a pod in something, and now they just want a disposable that all they have to do is suck. So, to see somebody like that turn into a thing where, okay, now I'm boiling all my products and using my sonic cleaner and all that.
Well, this is for people that want to make sure, if you're a germaphobe, because I honestly think we're fine with the transport, because coming from China, it takes forever sometimes.
It does. No, and I don't disagree with that either. But I mean, the real concern for me is I don't really feel like China is concerned enough about what's going on. I mean, in some situations, and please don't take this as my opinion, but in some situations, I feel like they're using this as like a population control thing, where they're like, well, if we kill off so many, then we won't have so many Chinese to support. I hate that. I never like situations where they use that kind of influence to be able to do that. And where does it stop? When does the progression come from China to somewhere else where it's going to be, widespread?
And I do have no, I didn't put any of the links there. I did do a lot of research on the coronavirus, Stevie. But so okay, I don't know who you're talking about with Miller, but oh, okay. But yeah, so I mean, those are what I recommend. Just clean your stuff. I mean, that's the best option I can tell you. Clean it, do everything you can, even, if you want to be extra safe.
Yeah, I'm actually just surprised that they didn't blame the coronavirus on vaping. I mean, they've blamed everything else on vaping, and probably started, anyway, just a joke.
But I do want to welcome Stevie and Sincali, since they're in chat. Good to see you guys today. Absolutely. But now that we've got that out of the way, because I didn't want to spend a ton of time on the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the one article that some people have mixed hopes on. I think, honestly, it's a little too late. But just this last week, there were multiple articles. I'm using the one from the Washington Examiner, which I am going to put in chat right now. Supposedly, or well, not supposed, it's actually in the budget. In Trump's 2020 budget for 2021, he actually put in there to where he wants to separate the FDA from the Center for Tobacco Products, basically.
Right.
He wants to remove all tobacco, which... Oh, okay, about the vaccine. I gotcha. For some reason, I didn't see it come over if you sent it on Facebook, so... But in my personal opinion, for one, this isn't... I can see possibly, if it stays in the budget bill that Trump proposes, I can see it being passed before November. But I don't see it being anything before May. Now, here's the thing. Because they'd be changing where it is, the FDA guidance not the guidance, the actual bill, the Tobacco Control Act, where it'd have to be a reversal of the Tobacco Control Act or an amendment to change it into a new department under Health and Human Services. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it actually says that it would be sent to the FDA. So they would have to amend that to send it to a brand new department under Health and Human Services. And the final rule would probably have to be rewritten. Probably.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
I get that. The thing about...
that would be an ultimate time, especially if it doesn't happen till the end of the year. Since some pro-vaping individuals are in the Senate, and since we do have some people in the actual House, we don't have the controlling people in the House, but we do have people in there. That would be the time to actually change the way things are regulated.
So let me ask you this. Are you for this or against this?
I'm for getting it out because then that gives us a chance to get a continuum of risk rather than just lumping us up because, as we all know, Royal College of Physicians ruling it to be no more than 5% of the dangers of combustible tobacco. That right there gives us the ability to have a continuum of risk.
Well, let's not forget about the New England Journal of Medicine either.
Yes.
I mean, so this has been posted here in the States. Sometimes people, and I know it's strange, but it's like if it isn't tested and done in the U.S., then it must be wrong because every other country in the world doesn't have smart people in it. It's just here. And I hate when that happens because, we're one Earth. Like there are smart people everywhere. There are smart people even in Texas. I mean, there are smart people everywhere,
Right.
Just no big deal. I'm actually for this as well. I think that it's a good idea for multiple reasons, but the main one that I think is it allows the FDA to get back to what they're supposed to be doing. I'm sure so much of their time now is spent dealing with the vaping and things like in tobacco regulations that a lot of other things are probably falling by the wayside that shouldn't be. And I think that's Trump's, and not that I'm a Trump supporter necessarily, but that's one of the things that I think is actually a good thing because he's seeing that. He like we've talked about before, he regretted sticking his toe into this argument because it has caused him nothing but problems. And after he looked at it, he's like, why is the FDA in charge of this? This is too much for this agency to deal with all the other things that they have going on. So I think it's a positive, but like I have said off camera, I always get concerned. There's always that conspiracy theory, like, tinfoil hat thing that's like, is this a move to allow them to do something else that's even more vindictive or more terrible than they could have done through the FDA because of regulations that the FDA has? So I'm cautious, and I'll tell you why. It's because of Michigan.
Right.
When Michigan separated tobacco and vape liquid, we all thought, fantastic. They'll be able to control tobacco and maybe leave vape liquid alone. And exactly the opposite happened.
Right.
They tried to ban vaping while leaving tobacco where it was. And so unfortunately, that sticks in my brain. And so anytime they try and make a big move like this, I'm like, okay, what's the underlying thing? Is this like the first chess move in a plan that they have to, cause us more regulation or cause us more problems? So I think it's a good move, but in a couple of months, I may be eating crow. You just never know.
Well, see, here's the thing, and this is the other place that one of our big issues is one certain person, Mitch Zeller.
Okay.
He is one of our big issues. Well, if this was another confirmed position in Health and Human Services, just like the FDA commissioner, that means there is a chance somebody can get to Trump and replace Mitch Zeller. Get his butt out of there. And have it somebody that actually will look at the continuum of risk. And not somebody that pretty much wrote the FDA final rule.
No, and I agree with that. The other issue that I have too is if you look at other like state by state health and human services divisions, they have always been on the side of tobacco and getting rid of vaping. And that's the one thing that concerns me. I always feel like these health departments need to be focused on what is the healthiest version of whatever it is.
Well,
and
they
it
won't
seems
be.
like that has not been the case.
They won't ever be because of the master settlement agreement and money. Bottom line, we got to get that out of our heads. They won't ever 100% be behind us because of that master settlement agreement. They get money from every pack of cigarettes that's sold. So, I mean, they're never going to be on our side.
And until we can get tobacco products put into a place that is not that cannot get outside funds, that it is strictly, autonomous, that can make decisions based on, actual facts, and they're not swayed one way or the other through contributions, is the only way that vaping will actually be able to stand in the forefront and be able to be seen as something that's a better alternative.
I mean, and that's the thing, looking at it, we've been wanting regulation, or we've been wanting a new type of regulation for vaping. This is our chance.
Guidelines, not regulation. See, that just that word regulation makes everybody's skin crawl because they feel like it's dad telling them what they can and can't do. And that's not really the case. But what we're looking for is like standards of operation. As long as you follow these standards of operation, then you're going to be okay. But when you start talking about regulations, then you think, okay, well, this is just somebody saying, no, you can't do that. It's perception. It's not that it's true. It's just the perception of everybody. If you're going to regulate me, that means you're telling me something I can't do. No one's ever went into something and go, oh, they regulated this, so it's so much easier now.
Oh, I agree with you.
It's always the opposite of that. And that's the sad part about that word is just it makes everybody. So it's like we have to find a different word. It's like we're not looking for regulations. We're just looking for standards of operation that we can fall in line with.
Here's the problem. When you word it standards of operation, automatically people will think it's not legally binding and that they can't be
fair enough
fined for it. So you say reasonable regulation because they are technically regulating just as they're now regulated. I mean, where the FDA has every single bit of their ingredients already, you know, they have already regulated a lot of our liquids.
Now, do you think this move is because of the PMTA process and the FDA and Trump getting the other go, there's no way that we're going to be able to get through all of this stuff, you know, in any kind of realistic time period? Let's dump this on another agency that might have the opportunity to do that.
Honestly, now this is just my guess, okay?
That's all we're doing right now, just stab it in the dark.
My guess is because they know they will not get everything done before the first of the year, yet because technically right now they are legally bound to the May date. Unless Congress put a check on the courts, which they wholeheartedly can do, Congress can go in there and overstep the courts and say, we're changing the date to this if they wanted to actually pass a bill. Congress could actually do that. But because, you know, a lot of people think the courts are, once the courts make a decision, that's it. No, the checks and balances go all three ways. They go forwards, backwards, in every direction. So even the Supreme Court can be overruled by Congress.
And Wendy, I understand what you're saying, that nicotine and tobacco shouldn't be in the same realm. Believe me, you are preaching to the choir there. I definitely think that that's the case, because when you talk about, you know, nicotine containing things, you know, should tomatoes be under the, you know, same thing as cigarettes? No, absolutely not. But that's not how it is right now, and I think that you're absolutely right about that. But that's not, you know, I just don't think that's something going to happen. And one other thing too that keeps coming up in chats, and I want to kind of make this clear because I don't think it has been. The ATF, a lot of people are like, well, why don't we just fall under the ATF's rule? The ATF is more of an enforcement, like they are arresting and things of that nature. They're not on the side of like testing and, you know, that side of it. So I understand people think that because it's just the name. It's like alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Why don't they handle that? And it's like they're more about arresting people. So if you want to see more people arrested, then yes, let's put us under the ATF. I don't particularly want that because I don't want their enforcement coming down on us like a, you know, a gavel.
And the ATF mainly goes after the bootleg
big
cigarette traffickers.
Yeah, that's who they go they're after interested mostly. In big money issues. You know, it's like they're going after the mob. They don't care about the guy selling, you know, dime bags at the corner.
See, Wendy said the exact same thing I said. They're the tax enforcement arm of the government.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the main thing they're there for. But
they're the collection muscle. That's what they are. Yo, go break his legs. Yeah,
And
that
just so
kind of
everybody knows,
situation.
today's show is probably only going to be till 10 because I got to be back at work at 7 tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, tonight I'm working a 13-hour shift.
All right, fine. Well, let's get on to the next thing because we got a couple things to talk about.
Next one. West Virginia. Oh, my goodness. This one slipped in under the radar on me.
Wait, just for those of those out there that don't know, where are you from?
West Virginia.
Okay, there we go.
15 minutes from the state capital.
So this is happening in his home state right now.
Yes. Right now, our Senate Majority Leader, which was the one person I didn't talk to, and I wish I had, has placed a bill on the floor and introduced it to put $1 a milliliter tax. Not going off nicotine level, $1 a mil tax. Which, for one, I think is outrageous.
Oh, it's insane. It's just a way to shut down vaping in West Virginia. If that would actually go through, there's no shop that would stay open.
I actually sent an email to this, because he is my state senator.
Yeah.
So I am his actual constituent. I sent him an email. And normally I don't do this, but I'm going to actually read the email that I sent him. Because normally I don't put out what I put out.
Oh, I hear you put out.
But this is the actual letter that I sent him. Senator, I am a constituent of yours and would like to discuss some very disturbing legislation with you that you have introduced into the West Virginia State Senate. I'm available any Monday or Tuesday to discuss this with you and am willing to come to your office to discuss it. Personally, I do not feel, though, that you fully understand the economic impact you would place on the industry, nor the health impact you would have on the community. The bill I am referring to is Senate Bill 735, and in all honesty, this bill will destroy the industry in this state and close 99% of tax-paying shops. Not only will you be destroying shops, but in turn, also removing this life-saving technology from the market in our state. The Royal College of Physicians in 2015 ruled that vaping products were not to exceed 5% the dangers of combustible tobacco, and even the CDC has recognized the harm reduction aspect of it, as they have actually already said to not return to combustible tobacco after the recent scare, which was because of THC-contained products. No nicotine-contained product has the vitamin E acetate, which was the cause of the recent scare. Another factor to take into account is your tax actually is even taxing our nicotine at a higher rate than cigarettes. 50 milligrams of liquid nicotine is equal to 1 pack of cigarettes. Our products, for the average consumer, has at most 6 milligrams of nicotine in them, which is much lower than the average cigarette. I want to give you my vape testimony. I started smoking when I was 20 years old, and at that time, it was for the typical issues. I would do it when nervous or just needed to calm down. I had tried quitting multiple times with multiple methods to no avail. I tried the gum, and all it did was I returned to smoking and actually smoked more after. It was the same with the patches. I tried that, and every time I was not able to quit. I also tried Chantix. And actually, threw me in such a deep depression that I was close to trying to commit suicide. After that, I knew I needed to find a new way to kick my 2-pack-a-day habit. It was then in January of 2015 that I found vaping. And I have never looked back. I started on 36 milligram with a small device, but I wanted to lower my nicotine intake. Today, I am down to 6 milligram and working my way down to 3. My lungs feel like when I was in high school. And honestly, I have many stories I could show you of multiple people that it had the same effect with. Please reconsider this to help keep this life-saving technology here for years to come so that we can reverse the rate of deaths from combustible tobacco. As a constituent and consumer, I look forward to speaking with you to discuss the issue and help you to better understand the financial impact on the state and consumers alike. As stated before, I'm available Monday through Tuesday to speak with you in person in this issue. And then I gave him it was sent in an email and I gave him my phone number. I think, in my personal opinion, that was a strong email.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And my question is, like, where did they come up with this amount per mil? I mean, who is pulling that string to say, okay, this is the amount? Because this just feels like an alternative way to ban. And just to put this into perspective, like Vermont passed a 92% tax, which absolutely destroyed the industry in Vermont. This is worse than that.
Well,
I mean, if you really think about it, a 30 mil bottle that most people are paying, $10 for, that would now be a $40 retail cost if they just pass along the tax and the cost of the product and not raise it to make money off of the tax money that they already had to spend. And the second thing is that these places have to pay this money before they even sell the product. So you'd have to have all kinds of tax money sitting in stock at your store. And I can't see a lot of these smaller vape shops being able to afford that. That's just, it's insane. And you're right. To me, this just feels like a way to ban vaping without actually passing a ban.
Exactly. And even one of the heads of the organization of the West Virginia Smoke Free Association, even she has stated that her shop will close if this tax passes.
Oh, absolutely. Now, what did they do with cigarettes? Because we need
they raised it also to $2.10 a pack. That's what I was stating to them. I mean, you're charging more tax on the nicotine for the e-liquid than you are charging on the actual cigarettes.
So they went from 7.5 cents per mil to $1 per mil in e-liquid, and they only raised the cigarette tax for an entire pack by $1.
Yeah.
Now, how is that fair? How is that even close? And my concern is if they get some pushback on it, like, okay, we'll reduce it down to something else. Even if they cut that in half, it still kills the industry.
Oh yeah, honestly,
50 cents a mil would kill the industry there.
Yeah, I mean they can't go much higher than maybe 10. They could go to 10, and that's it.
All right. So, and the other thing we haven't talked about yet, if you read into that, we were talking about this off camera. If a vape shop says, okay, we'll just put together DIY kits so that people can make their own at home, they have actually put that in there as well. So whatever the amount that DIY kit can make also is taxed exactly the same way.
Kit
yeah,
is
so they're trying to close a loophole. Well, yeah, but the reason they put that there is because, maybe they don't know this, but most lazy vapors are going to want, all right, well, if you put everything in a kit and all I have to do is just pour a bunch of bottles together, I might be able to do that. And I'm sure that, because other states have done short fills or sold nic shots and things like that to eliminate issue. And like even here in Ohio, we are only taxed on liquid that is containing nicotine. So like zero nic liquid doesn't get taxed. And that's kind of the way some people have gotten around this law.
Yeah.
This doesn't even affect that. It says any e-liquid. So anything that can be used in an e-liquid device falls underneath of this.
Yeah.
This is horrible. Like this is one of the worst I've ever seen.
Oh, same here. It's one of the worst. I was telling my mom this on the way home. I would take the Pennsylvania 40% tax on wholesale cost over $1 a mill.
And it's sad that we have gotten to the point where that's where we are.
Yeah.
You know, that we'd be willing to spend that just to kind of salvage this. But that's my thing about the, you know, because we've been talking about the FDA and all of that. Is any of that really going to matter if these states are just making these ridiculous over and above laws? You know, is it going to force vapors into certain states just because of states that are like, we don't welcome you, we don't want you?
Yeah.
And you know, that seems like a type of discrimination almost to put that into effect. It's like, well, if you're, I'm just trying to think something random. If you like wearing red shirts, all red shirts in our state have a, you know, $3 per stitch tax on them. But if you like wearing red shirts, you can do that over there. I mean, I just really feel like, and I didn't want to say like some race or something like that because I don't want to get in trouble, but that's what I'm saying. It's a way for them to either end vaping completely in their state or move vapors somewhere else.
Yeah.
While keeping their tobacco smokers. Because I don't think a lot of tobacco people would quit over $1 a pack. They might, but I think that percentage would be a lot lower.
Oh, by far. By far.
Yeah, so Rob and I don't really think that this is going to pass in its current state.
Yeah.
I mean, we really don't. But my concern is, like he always talks about in politics, coming to a compromise. And
what's that compromise?
Where does that compromise stop? I mean, even at like 25 cents a mil would still close every vape shop in the state.
Yeah.
So, guys, realize that this is a big thing. If you know anyone in West Virginia, or if you feel, you know, like you want to email, I'm sure Robert will give you
on my Facebook.
Email.
If you go to the Vapin Minuteman Facebook, you can put everything up there. Every single senator that is in the committee that it's been submitted to is listed there. Their emails, their phone numbers, everything. If you guys,
and this is going to do the one thing that Trump doesn't want, and it's going to make a West Virginian black market.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay. You guys aren't against that. I mean, you guys moonshine quite a bit back in the day, so it won't be anything new. It's just to give moonshiners something to do. Okay, well, we'll make bathtub liquid instead of, you know, bathtub gin. We'll make bathtub e-liquid. So anyway,
no,
we can
not bathtub.
Yeah.
We got enough manufacturers in West Virginia that would probably do it under the table, and we got enough DIYers that would do it under the table.
Well, it would have to be DIYers because any manufacturers would just get hit, I think.
Not
any large-scale production.
Not if they do it unlabeled e-liquid.
Sounds like a good name for a company. Unlabeled. You just get a bottle. It's got nothing on it. You have no idea what flavor it is or anything. It's like, all right, let's give this a try. See what it is.
Well, they put a label on it that says the name, but that's the only thing, so that they can separate. So that they can separate them completely from it.
But this is bad. Just really bad.
Yeah.
The worst I've ever seen on anywhere.
Lastly, I can't believe I'm using it, but this is the only article I could find on it. So I have to use it.
Don't hate Vaping 360.
I don't hate the website. I really do not hate the website. I just can't stand the man that writes every single news article.
Jim, if you're watching this, I'm a fan, so don't put me underneath the same thing. I've corresponded with Jim often. I like his fire.
But we had another lawsuit, of course, fail. And, you know, I hate to sound like I told you so.
No, you don't. It's one of your favorite things.
But I told you so. We never should have relied just on our blasted lawsuits. People should have been getting their crap ready.
No, I totally agree with that. But the one question I do have is the statement that it had to be signed by a an actual, what do they call it? It's not appointed. It's like an elected member. Is that really true? Like, is that really a fact? And because they said the person that signed it was a civil servant, and that's not legal under. Is that really true?
What part?
They said that that the deeming rule had been signed by a like an assistant FDA commissioner or an acting FDA commissioner, which that was what violated the law. Is that really true? And did the judge just say no because we ratified it later? I mean, that's a shitty way to look at it, to say, well, we could put something into effect and have anybody sign it, and as long as it's ratified later, it still holds up. Like, that to me sounds a little underhanded.
Nah. It happens all the time, especially during.
I don't care if it happens all the time. Is it legal to do that?
Yeah.
Speeding happens all the time, but that's not legal.
In my personal opinion, knowing from my history, yes. Because it happens all the time on election years.
Okay.
If it wasn't legal, they couldn't go out there and do anything in any of these departments until the person that was supposed to sign that could actually get confirmed. Or like with Dr. Gottlieb, after he left, we had the longest time there that Ned Sharpless was in charge.
Right.
But he was just acting.
And that's the funny thing, too, is we haven't heard anything from this new FDA commissioner. I'm wondering if anybody in chat can even remember what his name is. Can you remember what his name is? See? How crazy is that? That we've been fighting the FDA for so long and nobody can remember the new guy's name. Like, he's just sitting in his office with the door locked. Like, I'm going to be quiet as long as I can.
It's Haas or Hod.
All I know is from Houston, Texas. I can't even remember his name. And that's sad.
I'm pretty sure it's Haas or Hod, something like that. I know it starts with an H.
We have said Gottlieb and Sharpless forever. And the guy that's now in charge of all of our fates.
Stephen Haas?
His name. You're going to look it up anyway. You might as well just look it up.
I'm thinking it's Stephen Haas, if I'm not mistaken. Or Stephen Hahn. I was dang close.
You were close, but
I was very close.
Horseshoes and hand grenades. That's not, if you sent a letter out to Stephen Haas, it wasn't going anywhere.
Hey, at least
do you find that weird? Do you find that weird that we haven't heard shit from him, and no Twitter, no?
He's keeping everything close to the vest right now because of Trump.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. I really think he's because where they've had, my gut tells me this whole thing with the budget has been in play for a while.
Okay, fair enough.
And he's known that this was Trump's plan all along.
I wish we knew somebody that could tell us, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Jen. She usually has the inside scoop on some of that stuff, but she's not allowed to say sometimes. I'm just wondering if she already knew that this was coming.
But I'll tell you this much. Before I said anything on today's show, I cleared it with her.
Good.
So, but
no, she's a great source of information for sure. I love having her on the show, but I know.
And hopefully, by the way, guys, Monday night we will definitely be doing a DIY, probably 8:00, because she fell asleep on Wednesday. That's why we didn't do a DIY Wednesday. She fell asleep on me, and at 12:45 she was waking up. I'm here. I'm like, don't worry, I moved it. I canceled it. When you didn't answer me at 5 to 12, I canceled it.
And, the more that this stuff keeps cracking down, the more people are going to get into DIY. So keep doing those shows, because it's definitely something that people are going to want to look at for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, when it comes to that, I'd much rather they do it correctly than do it just on a whim, not knowing what the hell they're doing. Excuse my French, but that's the truth. I'd much rather they do that than just go on a whim.
Yeah. Now, one of the last things I want to throw out there, because I just found out about this on Thursday, that if you are a YouTube person or if one of your vape channels on YouTube disappears, this is something that YouTube has started to do. Zample Box's feed or channel have now been eliminated from YouTube. So this is something that they are taking seriously. You need to go back through your old things and look for links and things like that that are not allowed, because I think that's what they're doing. I know several of the people have been getting warning letters or whatever they call like a strike against them. And they're like, I don't even know what this is from. And it's from a video that they put out in like 2016 or 2017. So
Yeah.
understand that YouTube is getting very, 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 cracked down on this vaping thing. So just realize if you have a reviewer or somebody that you love, let them know. I would assume that they already know, but it would probably help to let them know, like, hey, and if you like a reviewer and you want to help them, go through their old videos, look for anything that might be, suspect, and let them know about that, because this could be a huge, huge issue if all these vape channels go away just strictly because they missed, a link or something in one of their old uploads. So
Yeah.
2 cents there for you guys.
And I think another reason they got hit was because they're a business.
It could be, absolutely. And the thing is, I used to love watching Zample Box videos. They did some of the most hilarious, like, crappy tasting e-liquid challenges and things like that were fun to watch. And, one of the other guys that I deal with, the Angry Hippie, Sean Typhon, he keeps saying, let's make vaping fun again, because it hasn't been here for the last year. It's been nothing but a challenge. I was on something the other day, and the lady's like, I'm not interested in somebody who is a Trump supporter or that doesn't do politics. 2 years ago, I'd have been that guy. I don't do politics, but I have been involved with it quite a bit. And don't be afraid to get on Twitter and speak your mind. Like, that seems to be the new battleground for everything vaping, for sure.
Yeah, and then on top of that, for those of us like me and, a lot of us others, if we have other places we stream, go check on those areas too. Because, like, we stream on Twitch. We stream normally on Facebook. I don't know why it's not streaming today on Facebook. We stream other places to try to prevent something from ever happening. So, go subscribe those other places just in case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you can't catch me here, you'll catch me on those other places. Because I'm going to continue this until they pry my vape from my cold, dead fingers. I'm stealing that from the Second Amendment people.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you know what? It is 8 to 10 already. So we're going to go ahead.
Time flies when you're talking about
yeah.
vape.
We're going to go ahead and head out of here. Don't forget, guys, as always, subscribe, check the box for notifications, because I do try to do that, guys, at least 5 minutes. I try it right at 9 o'clock so that you guys get your notifications. If you don't get notifications, just message me on Facebook on Vapin Minuteman. I'll add you to our notification chat so that you know when we're going live. I do all the time send links, so you'll have that. But guys, we will see you. Well, Anthony will see you next Saturday, but I'll see you guys on Monday. Oh. If you like what you've seen here, there's much more to come. Just click one of the 2 boxes up here in the corner. And you know what? If you've liked it, make sure to subscribe. Just click the little button right there. Talk to you later, guys.